So I'd like to welcome you. This is actually a Redeem Your Voice camp, but we're extending it to you. And I got this question for you. Do you need a turnaround? Or how about this question? Do you really realize that you can hear the voice of God, and hearing the voice of God, so many of your answers can come to you in that turnaround? I'm Teresa Croft. So glad you could join me. I am a kingdom mentor who is passionate to help people get unstuck, to find their voice from a foundation of identity. We do that through the Kingdom Mentor Academy with the Redeem Your Voice Camp, where we dive deep in the care, in the repair, restore, and rebuild process based on Amos 9, verse 11. And I'm so glad you could join me for this free Redeem Your Voice Camp, because I really believe this just might be for you, live or recorded. Let's be cool, live or recorded. I want to share something with you that might help you connect your voice, that you can't hear his voice. Like, come on, do you not hear his voice at times when you take a walk and you see it in nature? I know a lot of people just see and feel the voice of God there. I have a husband who's crazy about numbers, and man, he can hear the voice of God through the word and prophetically, but he really can see numbers, and God speaks to him. I'm like, there's never a day in the truck where he's not saying to me, Teresa, do you see that? I'm like, what? Yeah, I can't see as well. Look at those numbers, 1998. Look at those numbers, 444. Look at those numbers, 360. We see that a lot. Hence the turnaround thought. I know I know that this is a time when a lot of answers would like to be answered. A lot of questions would like to be answered. But I also feel like there's a spring in the air. Do you not see it? Like we're getting close to seeing some things finalized or taken care of. So I want to share something with you. I mostly hear the word of God by reading the word. I mostly hear his voice. But every once in a while, I've been asking him more and more if I could hear his voice in my dreams. A couple episodes ago in the Kingdom Mentor podcast, I replayed one that I heard last year about a dream, and that God just blew me away with the meaning of it. But this is a real short dream, okay? Let me share this with you. And I want you to know, when I have this dream, and I've had it over a dozen of times, I'm usually a little stressed. But in this dream, it's real simple. I'm in college at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. I feel the sun in my dream. And I'm halfway through the semester, and it hits me. I haven't been to this one class that I signed up for. It's like halfway through, I freak out. I haven't gone to that class, or maybe even two of them. And then I wake up. And I wake up and I'm like, whew, I'm so glad I'm done with college. I'm so glad I graduated. I'm so glad. But that was just a dream I would have. Except just a month ago, I had something really interesting to that dream. So I'm in the dream, halfway through. I don't know that I haven't gone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't gone to that class so for half the semester, but I did something different. I took responsibility. In the dream, I went back to the teacher and said, what must I do to get caught up? I think it was two of them on this dream. What do I need to do to catch up? And then I woke up and I'm like, whoa, does that mean I'm never going to have that stress dream again? I don't think I will, because in my dream, in my thoughts, God was showing me how to take responsibility. It seems so simple, but yet it was so big for me personally. So I pondered on that. I just didn't go blabbing it out. I really wanted to think, what is God saying, and what could this be for you? God's voice to you. So the other night I couldn't sleep, very rare. I got up at 3:30, very rare. And I just sat with the Lord and just read some of the word and just was thinking. And then he reminded me of the dream and the good side of the dream. And he said, kind of like the way he talks, he's like, let's mark down some keys that have to do with this. And the keys that anyone can take and walk in the fulfillment of what God's called them. So the first key is take responsibility. On a good day, I do well to manage me. But this take your responsibility really had to do with your emotions, that you start with yourself and you choose which emotion you're going to operate in. You respond rather than react. So I think of it as the mini version of the FRP process. We teach that a lot at the Redeem Your Voice Camp. The F stands for focus. So you're waking up, you have a foul mood, and you're going to do some FRP on yourself. And this is how you do it. You focus on that which does not line up with faith, hope, and righteousness, obviously. And you're like, what is that? What is it? And then you bring it into you stay focused. That's why focus. You stay present. You don't just go off and drink 5 cups of coffee and start going in that and nursing that emotion. You take focus. You take responsibility. You bring it into the R. R stands for the reality of it. I also believe it's a place where you get to look at it, examine it. Why am I waking up with fear? Why am I waking up with disbelief? You don't stay there too long, but you examine it. You stay present. God gave us our emotions. So you keep those emotions. You're in the FRP process. So you examine it and you're like, wait, I need to choose something that's opposite of what that emotion is. That's where the P comes in. You ask the presence of God to minister to that area right now. You can do this throughout the day. Well, when you wake up in the morning, you got something twisted, you do the FRP process on yourself. And you invite the presence of God. And often the presence with the promise, another P, also often gives you a word, a declaration that you can speak over that fear, to speak over that doubt, whatever it is. But you get to choose. So that's the taking responsibility in your emotions. And then the next key God gave me is he says, you got to surrender to God and not to fear. You got to say, okay, God's way is better than my way. Like, I think I surrendered in that dream, probably thinking I don't want to have this dream again. I don't know why I took responsibility in the dream, but it can be easy as surrendering to something negative and it totally messes you up. Surrendering means waiting on the Lord. And as I read from Jack Hayford, you can wait and serve, not in a hustle bustle way. Look at waiters. They wait on people to serve food. You can wait and serve right where you are as you're surrendering to God, as you're trusting God. He's got you. He won't drop you. You can surrender and say, I trust in you in the midst of this surrender, in the midst of the wait. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall make your path straight. I'm going to surrender. My times are in his hands, Psalm 31. But as for me, I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God. My times are in your hands. That's what King David said in Psalm 31. So in that late morning, as I was thinking about that, I know that I recommitted to those things that I had committed to, especially in light of what I know God is calling. So especially in light of maybe what your dream is. You're thinking about recommitting to those things you're committed to. To help me, I went to this section of my journal. It's called Memory Stones. I have an Evernote because I can't read my handwriting. So I type on Evernote, it saves it in the cloud, and I can go to any device, and there it is. So last night I went to the Memory Stones section. And in this section, I have prophetic words that have been given to me by people I know. And then prophetic words maybe from a Nate Johnston, a Lana Vausser, or someone like that. If they really hit me, I'm going to put them in this memory stone page. I went over this one detailed one, which leads me to this final point. To never give up. Never, no, never give up or give in, no matter what you feel as a failure. No, never give up. And I can tell you this was rumbling in me because last week I just woke up in the midst of my season and I started to get that self-examination. So I didn't do any FRP right away on it either. And I was feeling this question, what do I have to show for my life? I said, terrible. I was just, looking back at my age and what do I have to show for my life? And I just stayed there. I didn't do anything with it. And then in the snail mail, my mom's the only one I think who uses snail mail these days. I got something from my mom when she was reading the paper in Wenatchee, Washington. Yes, she still reads the paper. She was coming along this page and she saw something. And it was 40 years ago. It was like a remembering this day. 40 years ago, Teresa Schreck was named MVP by the Spokane Writers and Association for the Female Athlete of the Year. I'm like, oh, that's not really what I have to show for my life. But it was just at that moment, like, I don't know what I thought, except to me, I thought my dream at one time was to be a professional golfer, to have a platform to be able to speak. I was a professional golfer, but it didn't work out that way. And I'm okay. Because if it did work that out way, I wouldn't have met my husband and I wouldn't have two amazing kids. So I'm okay with that. But it made me realize as I'm going through this Evernote page on memories, it kind of, okay, let's stir some things up. Um, I remember the story. Ironically, it was a story called In the Sacred Journey of Golf. It didn't have anything to do about golf, except they were golfing and there were just jewels after jewels of wisdom in that book. I read it during the wintertime as I was kind of resting and getting refocused for the new year. It was a couple of years ago, and it was just blowing me away. But I remember this one story that I'm going to end with this about remember your vision, remember what God's called to you, remember what he's put lying in your very DNA with your voice. It's a dream, it's a gift. And in the dream, it's this older man with his daughter or granddaughter, and they went into this antique store, and the little girl, there was a small piano. She didn't see do not play sign. She sat down and just started playing beautifully, and the man who owned the shop just ripped her apart and just really discouraged her, and it was just terrible. And this is what the father said. And she was like, I'm done. The little girl's like, okay, never gonna play again. But this is what the father said, the father of the girl, maybe the father of you. When you give away your dream, you give away your heart, the wellspring of life. You must fight for it. And a dream from God is worth fighting for. You must become a little warrior. And the time to start is now, he emphasized. Then the little girl says, but I'm only a little girl, she said sheepishly. The father asked her to look into his eyes. And with the conviction of God himself, he said, it is God's battle, not yours. So do not fear. The father asked her one question. Tell me your dream. What did God say to you today? Remembering back to that divine moment, she replied, he said, I will make music that will cause people to seek God. So don't give away your dream. You give away your dream, you give away a piece of your heart, no doubt. God has set you apart for such a time as this. Do not give away your dream. Maybe he's asking you in the surrender process to pick it up in his timing and in his way. As I went through that last of this particular page in the memory stones, I remember God said some intimate things to me that really I really needed to hear. So I'm glad I recorded them. Many I forgot I had written them down, or someone gave me a prophetic word that's just like lit me up that night. But as I was thinking about that little girl, you know, I want to make music that will cause people to seek God. I thought I want to use my voice to make people seek God. And I heard God say to me, just so powerful and so simply, and he may be saying it to you, speak from the wellspring of your time with me. Teresa, when you speak, you move the hearts of many to seek me, the vine dresser of hearts. Speak, Teresa. Don't stop dreaming, and don't care about the numbers. I always say to Dave, if I sit down and do a live, do a Redeem Your Voice camp, and it's only one person is there, that is enough. I have served my purpose. Often I look into this camera like it's just you and me having coffee, especially in the Redeem Your Voice camp. Finally, I'm not an expert in dreams. I'll just tell you straight up. I do have a dear friend that's her lane. She walks in. In fact, I think she's going to be a part of a show and a new TV that's springing up, and she's going to talk about dreams. Her name is Linda Riddle. You can check her out at Linda G. Riddle on Instagram. But I'm a friend with her, so I passed her along that dream, and she said something really interesting that leads me to my final point. She said, oh, that's a good dream, friend. What type of classes are they? They were English classes. So I'm listening to God. Do you recall? That could give details as to what God wants you to learn. Then she said, responsibility is the key. I love that you used that word to describe the feeling you felt when you awoke. In other words, you're at a stage now where you're ready to embrace whatever he's trying to show you. And there are specific instructions he has for you to move forward, but the curriculum is there. So I say that to you, that there is curriculum to learn how to find your voice, to learn how to share your voice, to learn how to market your voice. And I offer, as part of this Redeem Your Voice camp that you're getting to see here on Facebook, I offer that to you with a one-on-one conversation about you and your dreams. It's at ikingsmedia.com/blueprint. Blueprint is all low letters. And let's talk about you. Let's find out what your obstacles are. Let's talk about your dreams. I want to be your dream carrier. Let's talk about ways to get unstuck. Let's talk about the repair, the restore, and the rebuild process for your dream, because 2021 is the emerging. It's the time to rest, to run. You can look on my podcast, at the Kingdom Ender podcast. I talk about that a lot, that we rest by our faith, embracing the miracle working power of God, like Sarah did in Hebrews 11, verse 11. Even though she had stuff going on, she was unable to conceive, she was barren, but she had this promise. God is saying, will you take your faith and embrace the miracle power of God? And then will you rise up in your authority? For the authority of her faith rested. So she took her authority, her kingdom authority, and she rested in the promises of God. His promises are yes and amen. You may have to make a memory stone page in your journal and just start writing out what God has promised you in your dreams. And then she tapped into his faithfulness. She made declarations. So we'd love to help you. We'd love to be a part of that for you. It's the identity blueprint. And I don't ever say this, but I give you a 30-day blueprint to follow. And I did an interview recently, and I replayed it. It's the last episode on the Kingdom Mentor Academy. It has to do with trauma and grief with Lisa Mason. And I was so blessed. I forgot that our connection, and she's one of my dearest friends, our connection came through a blueprint call, and she actually followed through with the 30-day action plan and had a moment, had an encounter, was able to get over some things. And then just great to make friends that way. It's the world of the Zoom. Anyway, so ikingsmedia.com/blueprint. So I've got some members that are on the other end of this on Zoom. I just thought I would come and present this to you on Facebook so more people can listen. And the final thing I'll just say is, you are enough. You don't have to be halfway there and boom, stall out. There's a time to rejuvenate. It's like Song of Songs 2. Do you hear the birds? It's a new season. It's a new season of going forward. Maybe you're like, I need to invest in myself. It's about that time. I believe it's that time, because you are enough. So you have an extraordinary solution to someone else's pain point. You are valuable. You are courageous. You're incredible. I don't have a vine dresser word, but I just can speak that over you prophetically. Someone here has a dream that they have really buried in the dirt. And I think God's saying, clean that away. Let's take responsibility for the gifts, because our dreams are our gifts from God. God created us as dreamers. Part of our creativity that he's lined in our very DNA is birthed out of the dreams he puts in our heart. Dream big. Dream big. Don't be afraid to dream big. Choose your emotions when you wake up. I'm going to choose to take one step towards my dream. Imperfect action is better than no action. So don't wait till everything's perfect with your voice, whatever God's called you. Imperfect action is better than no action. If I wanted to make everything perfect, I'd never be on camera because my hair was bad, or I'd never release 3 books because they're not perfect. They would all be stuck here on the computer. I don't want all your stuff stuck here or stuck in sticky notes all over your desk, and you just feel, oh, I don't know what to do. No, you know what to do. Take responsibility. Surrender to God. Recommit to those things you're committed to, and never, no, never stop dreaming, because that dream is God's gift to you. That dream is God's battle. Despise not small beginnings. Not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. Just firming you up. It's God's battle, but you get to step to the piano of your dream and start playing. Imperfect action is better than no action. All right, I hope you enjoyed this Redeem Your Voice camp. I really appreciate you as I say goodbye on Facebook, and I'll talk to you in the next video.